Welcome to our Tech Security Today podcast. I'm Ewan Campbell.
And I'm Elizabeth Hernandez.
And today we're diving into the world of email security. It's fascinating to me how email remains the top attack vector, even with all the advancements in security technology.
It really speaks to the effectiveness of social engineering tactics and how attackers are constantly evolving their methods.
Absolutely. And with the average cost of a data breach hitting a record $4.88 million last year, it's clear that this is an area where we can't afford to let our guard down.
Especially when you consider that this figure represents the average across all sectors. For small businesses, the impact is even more significant, with average costs approaching $3 million. That can be devastating. It's a lot of money.
It's a crazy amount of money, yeah.
It is.
And the thing is, email is still like the main way these attacks are happening, especially when we're talking about critical infrastructure.
Yeah, 75% of those attacks started with an email.
So even in 2025, with all this technology and all the stuff that we have, email is still like,
It's still a weak point.
it just seems crazy that we still haven't figured out how to stop, those Nigerian prince scams. Right?
Well, it's evolved way beyond those old scams.
Right.
Cyber criminals are using much more, I guess advanced would be the word, techniques like social engineering, where they kind of like manipulate people into giving up information,
Oh, I see.
and they're getting really good at it.
So it's like, it's not even about having strong passwords anymore. It's like you have to be aware of these psychological, tactics.
It's a different kind of threat.
Yeah, it's different. Yeah.
Yeah. For example, imagine you got an email that looks exactly like it's from your bank.
Okay. Yeah.
And they say, you need to verify your account details because there's some suspicious activity.
Uh-huh.
And you're thinking like, oh, I better take care of this.
Right.
Click on the link, but it actually takes you to a fake website
Oh,
that steals all your information.
wow.
So that's social engineering.
So they're really playing on our trust.
That's right. Mm-mm-mm.
What about malware? I haven't heard about malware in a while. Is that still, a concern?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, they're detecting over 300,000 new types of malware every single day.
Every day.
Every single day.
That's a crazy number.
It is a crazy number. It's like this constant back and forth between security researchers and these cyber criminals.
A cat and mouse game.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, cat and mouse game.
So what are some of the most common ones we should be looking out for in 2025? The ones in our inbox,
Well, one that's particularly nasty is called a stealer.
the stealer.
Yeah, basically, it just steals your information. Passwords, credit card numbers,
Yeah,
cryptocurrency if you have any.
like everything.
Yeah.
So you download what you think is like a work document, and then, boom, your bank account's empty.
It's a possibility.
Yeah, that's scary.
Another common type is called a loader. It's kind of like a backdoor. It opens a way for other malware to get in.
Uh-huh.
So once it's on your computer, it can download a whole bunch of other nasty stuff, gives the attacker more control.
Oh, okay. So it's like a 1-2 punch. Like they get the loader in there, and then all the other stuff comes flooding in after.
That's a good way to think about it. And then there are these things called remote access Trojans.
Okay.
Now, those are scary because they let the attacker actually control your computer remotely so they can spy on you,
Oh, wow.
steal your files, even use your computer to attack other people.
Okay, that's giving me chills.
Yeah, they're not good.
What about ransomware? It seems like we hear about ransomware attacks all the time now.
Yeah, ransomware is a huge problem,
Hmm.
and it's only getting worse. Basically, hackers encrypt your files, which means you can't access them.
Oh, well.
And then they demand money, usually cryptocurrency, to give you the key to unlock them.
So you're kind of held hostage until you pay up.
Exactly.
And I'm guessing they don't ask for, a small amount of money.
No, these are big ransoms, and anyone can be a target. Individuals, big corporations, it doesn't matter. In fact, in 2023 alone, there was a 71% increase in victims.
71%.
Yeah,
So this is like a really real danger.
for everybody, yeah.
But how are they doing it? Like, how are these ransomware attacks actually happening? Is that through email too?
You guessed it. Social engineering plays a big role.
Again?
Yeah, hackers trick people into opening those malicious attachments
Oh, right.
or clicking on links that download their ransomware.
So really it comes down to, just being careful what you click on.
Yeah, it's about being vigilant about what you're doing online.
But some of those phishing emails can be so sophisticated. I mean,
They can be tough.
it's really hard to tell what's real and what's not.
It is. That's why it's so important to stay up to date on the latest tricks and, look out for red flags.
Okay, so let's get specific then. Like what What are some of those top email threats, right now in 2025?
Well, phishing and social engineering are still, at the top of the list.
Yeah. Okay.
In 2024, they were involved in 90% of cyber threats.
90%.
90%. And the methods they're using are always changing.
Yeah, I've definitely seen those ones that try to, look like they're from someone I know,
Hmm.
like my boss
Hmm.
or a code
Yeah,
or something.
exactly. And they're getting more advanced. They're using AI to make these really believable messages, ones that are specific to you. They might even use information they find on your social media or whatever.
Oh no, so they're like doing their research.
They are.
That's kind of creepy.
It can be, yeah.
Yeah. Are there any other new tricks that we should be watching out for?
Well, QR code phishing has become more common.
QR code phishing.
Yeah, those square barcodes?
Oh, the ones you scan with your phone?
Yeah, they're everywhere now.
Yeah, they are everywhere.
And hackers are hiding bad links in those QR codes. So you think you're gonna, a safe website, but it's actually,
A trap.
yeah, it's a trap.
It's so sneaky. It just seems like they're always finding new ways to trick us.
It's a constant arms race. But, the good news is there are ways to protect yourself. We just have to be aware of the threats and use the right security tools.
Okay, so let's talk solutions. What can people actually do to stay safe from these, scary email attacks?
Well, the first thing is to realize that this isn't just an IT problem.
Right?
Everybody needs to be responsible for security.
Okay. So it's not just about, having the latest antivirus or whatever. It's about like changing our own behavior.
Yeah, educating employees, raising awareness, that's huge.
Mhm.
You know, 82% of data breaches involve human error.
82%. Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's why training people to recognize these threats and follow good security practices is so important.
So we need to be our own, like, first line of defense.
Exactly.
Okay. What about the tech stuff? What kind of security should people be putting in place?
Well, obviously, strong passwords are essential.
Yeah.
But these days, we need to go beyond passwords. We need multi-factor authentication.
Multi-factor. I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's basically like a double lock on your door. Even if someone gets your password, they can't get in without that second factor.
Oh, right. Like a code sent to your phone or something.
Exactly. It's an extra layer of protection.
That makes sense. What about antivirus? Is that still important?
Absolutely. Antivirus is still crucial. It helps detect and block those known malware threats.
Okay, so that's like the basic stuff, right?
Yeah.
But I know there are more like advanced solutions, especially for businesses.
You're right. For sensitive data, encryption is becoming really important. It scrambles the contents of an email, so only the person it's meant for can read it.
So like a secret message.
Exactly. And then there are even more advanced things that use artificial intelligence and machine learning to spot threats. These are always learning and adapting to new tactics.
So it's like having a digital security guard like constantly watching out for you.
That's a good way to put it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, the technology is amazing.
It is. It is. But I imagine like just choosing the right email protection can be really overwhelming.
It definitely can be.
There's so many options out there.
There's a lot out there, and it can be pretty overwhelming trying to figure out where to start.
Yeah.
But choosing the right protection, it doesn't have to be a headache. We just need to break it down into a few key things to think about.
Okay, cool. So what's the first thing? What should people be thinking about when they're trying to figure out like what kind of protection they even need?
Well, the first thing is your organization. Like, how big is it and what kind of industry are you in? Because if you're a small business, your needs are going to be way different than, say, a giant corporation, right?
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. And I imagine different industries have different like rules and regulations they have to follow.
Exactly. Like, if you're a healthcare organization, you're dealing with really sensitive patient data.
Oh yeah.
And that means way more protection than maybe a retail company.
Okay, so it's definitely not one size fits all.
No, not at all. You also got to think about your IT resources. Do you even have an IT department?
Right.
Or dedicated security staff? If not, you might want to look into a managed service provider. They can handle all that technical stuff for you.
Okay, so that takes the pressure off smaller companies that don't have that expertise in-house.
Exactly. But on the other hand, like a large organization with a dedicated IT team, they might want something more customizable that they can control themselves.
So there's a solution out there kind of for everyone, no matter what their size or technical skills are.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. And of course, like with anything, budget's always a factor.
Right,
Email security solutions can range from a few bucks per user per month to thousands of dollars a year.
right,
So it's all about finding that sweet spot where you're getting good protection without, spending a fortune.
right. And that's where it can get really, really tricky, right? Because how do you know it's worth paying for?
Well, that's where those security assessments we talked about earlier can be really helpful.
All right.
They can point out any weaknesses in your current setup so you know exactly where you need to, beef up your defenses.
So you're not just throwing money at a problem you don't fully understand.
Exactly. Once you've got a clear picture of what you need and what you can afford, then you can start comparing different solutions.
Okay.
And this brings us to the big question: cloud versus on-premise.
Yeah, that's a debate I hear a lot about.
Yeah.
Give you kind of break down the pros and cons of each.
Sure. So, cloud-based solutions, they're becoming really popular.
Okay.
They're usually more affordable and easier to manage.
Okay.
They do automatic updates. You can easily scale them up or down,
Okay.
and you don't need to worry about maintaining any expensive hardware.
So for a growing business, cloud might be a good way to go.
It's a good option for a lot of companies, especially those that don't want to, deal with their own infrastructure.
Right, right.
But some organizations, they prefer to have more control over their data, and they feel like an on-premise system is more secure.
So it's really about your comfort level and how much control you want over your own data.
Yeah. Yeah. And there are even some solutions out there that are kind of a mix of both, like hybrid solutions.
How interesting. Okay. So it seems like there's a lot of flexibility in terms of finding the right solution.
Definitely. But one thing I want to stress is that email security, it's not something you can just set up once and forget about.
Right, right.
It's a constant process. Things are always changing.
Yeah.
So you got to stay on top of it.
So kind of like regular checkups, just like with our health.
That's a good way to put it. You got to make sure your security measures are up to date, software is patched, your employees are trained on the latest threats.
Right, right. Speaking of training, we talked earlier about how important employee education is. But what does that actually look like
Mm.
in practice?
Well, you got to go beyond those boring old presentations about, don't click suspicious links. Make it engaging, something that people can actually relate to.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So use real life examples like of phishing emails that have targeted your specific industry.
Exactly. You could even run some simulations,
Oh, okay.
like send out fake phishing emails to your employees and see how they react.
That's a good idea.
It's a good way to figure out where your weaknesses are.
Yeah, because it's one thing to, talk about it theoretically, but actually seeing it in action, out of it's a real eye opener.
It is. And when you do those simulations, make sure to give people feedback, like explain why that email was suspicious and how they can avoid falling for it in the future.
So it's a learning experience, not just a test.
Right. And don't forget to keep your training materials updated. As the, threat landscape changes, your training needs to change too.
Right. Okay, so we've talked about choosing the right solutions,
Yeah.
educating employees. What about data loss prevention or DLP? I hear that term a lot.
Think of DLP as like a safety net for your sensitive data.
Oh,
It's about having policies and technologies in place that prevent that data from getting lost, stolen, or misused.
so it's not just about outside threats like,
Yeah.
hackers. It's about preventing accidental leaks too.
Yeah, exactly. Like, let's say someone accidentally sends an email with confidential client data to the wrong person.
No.
A good DLP solution, it could catch that, and either stop the email from going out or alert someone in IT.
Oh, wow. So it's like having a second set of eyes watching over your data.
That's a good way to think about it. DLP can be a really powerful tool for protecting your company's reputation and avoiding those costly data breaches.
And I imagine it can also help with compliance, especially in industries that have all those strict data privacy regulations.
Absolutely. DLP can really help you prove that you're doing everything you can to protect that sensitive information.
Okay, so we've covered a lot. Solutions, training, data loss prevention. Is there anything else we should be thinking about when it comes to, email security?
Well, we can't forget about email authentication.
Okay.
Now, this is getting into the technical weeds a bit, but basically, it's about making sure an email is really from who it says it's from.
So it helps prevent those spoofing attacks where someone's pretending to be like your boss or something.
They're like digital signatures that help verify if an email is legit or not.
Sadly, it adds, extra layer of trust to our inboxes.
It does. It does. And the good news is most email providers already have these authentication protocols built in. You might need to, adjust some settings to make sure they're working properly.
Right, right. But it's usually not too hard.
So it's worth checking with your email provider to make sure you're taking advantage of those features.
Definitely. And if you're using a separate email security solution, make sure that has good authentication features too.
Yeah, it's a really exciting time to be in this field. I mean, as the hackers are getting smarter,
Yeah.
the defenses are evolving too. We're seeing a ton of innovation, new technologies, new approaches. It's pretty cool.
So it's not all doom and gloom. Like there's hope for our inboxes.
Oh, absolutely. One of the most promising trends is behavioral analytics. You see, traditional security, it relies on detecting threats that we already know about, like spotting a virus based on its signature, that kind of thing. But behavioral analytics, it's totally different.
Okay, how so?
So it basically learns your email habits,
Uh-huh.
like what time you normally send emails, who you talk to, what kind of attachments you send, all that. And it builds this like profile of your normal activity.
Like my digital email fingerprint.
Exactly. And then if it sees something weird, like let's say an email goes out from your account at 3 in the morning
Okay.
to some address you've never contacted before, and it's got this sketchy attachment, and it's like, hold on, something's not right here.
That's pretty smart. It's like having a security guard that knows your routine and can like tell when something's off.
Yeah, exactly. It uses your own behavior as the baseline instead of just a list of bad guys.
Oh, okay. So it's more like personalized,
Yeah.
adaptable.
Yeah. What other trends, you ask?
Yeah, what else is new?
Well, AI and machine learning are playing a much bigger role.
Oh yeah, AI is everywhere these days.
I know, right? But it makes sense. These technologies can analyze tons of data, way more than a human ever could,
Right, right.
and spot those patterns and anomalies that we might miss.
Like a team of like super detectives working behind the scenes, always on the lookout.
Exactly. They can spot things like really sneaky phishing email or malware hidden in files that look totally innocent.
So we're not just like reacting to threats anymore. It's more like predicting and preventing attacks before they even happen.
Yeah, and that's where AI and machine learning really excel. They can learn from old attacks and spot new trends and adapt the defenses. It's really impressive.
It sounds like we're moving into like a whole new world of email security. But with all this advanced technology, it's easy to feel like, it's a losing battle. Like the hackers are always going to be one step ahead.
Yeah, I get that. But we have more power than we realize, I think. Just staying informed and taking precautions can make a huge difference.
What's like the one thing you want our listeners to take away from this deep dive? What's the most important thing?
Be proactive. Don't wait until you get hit with an attack. Think of it like your health. You don't wait till you're sick to start taking care of yourself. Right.
Right, right. So it's like brushing your teeth and eating your vegetables, but for your email.
Exactly. Educate yourself. Put those security measures in place. Pick the right protection for your situation. And most importantly, stay alert. Don't just assume everything's fine.
Yeah. It's a good reminder that cybersecurity is not just a one-time thing. It's something you got to keep working at.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks for joining us.